Quinn. And all right, we're recording in progress. Good. Well, thanks everybody for coming back. Moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Deputy Mayor Turton. The Council of Town of Minto resumes into open council. All in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Dirksen, second by Councillor Gudson. The minutes of the Town of Minto, May 18th, 2021, May 20th, 2021, regular council meetings, and May 18th, 2021, and May 2021 closed session meetings be approved. All in favor? Carried. I just throw that in every now and again to see if you're still awake, guys. No. Additional items is disclosed. Anybody got additional items? Deputy Mayor Turton. You should maybe you're going to give a pumpkin update, because I think Councillor Dirksen is doing most of the work out there, checking out the grubs and stuff. All right. Moved by Councillor Anderson, second by Councillor McKenzie. The Town of Minto Council convenes in the committee of the whole. All in favor? Carried. No delegations. Correspondence. Moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Councillor Dirksen. The council receives the correspondence information. Anybody want to pull anything out of the correspondence? Did you want to say anything on the Conservation Authority, David?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mayor Bridge. So we the Maitland Valley Conservation Authority have approved a contractor to take the Gorey Dam down.
Yes.
And so that's going to happen. We're going to take it down and rebuild the area as a park. And that's going to happen start July 1st. There's an opportunity. It's all governed by the government telling us when we can do it. So that's going to happen. So
yeah, you can't get into the water. You can't get into the water before July 1st.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, excellent. And how's that going, David? That was a tough one for everybody.
It was. So it did come in a little bit under budget.
Good.
But money set aside, and it's a big project. It's one of the biggest that we have undertaken. But I mean, it has to be done.
Yeah, sure. Excellent. Anybody else? Councillor Elliott.
I just want to talk to Deputy Mayor Turton about the Gorey. It used to be a beautiful park down there, and I was by it maybe a week or so ago, and it's really quite a mess down there. Is that all going to be brought back so it's a beautiful park area again, or what's happening? I see that it's fenced off, really weird and stuff. So,
well, we're really hoping that the volunteers are going to come forward and help us out I know that the township cuts the grass. There's a few volunteers down there that help with the grass, and I would think, Ron, that it'll be brought back up. It'll look pretty nice when we're finished.
yeah, it was a great park, and it'd be unfortunate that it's been kind of let go.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's been out there on the MVCA website, and there's been a lot of participation through the Gorey folks. So it'll look lovely when we're done.
That's great. Thanks.
Okay, anybody opposed to that? Okay, seeing none. Staff reports. I'll turn it over the chair to Councillor Anderson. Go ahead, Councillor Anderson. You're still on mute, I think. Yeah.
Keep forgetting that. Thank you for that. So we have a report from our fire department on moving forward into further technology, and I will turn it over to Quinn for that report. Sorry, not Quinn, Khalees, beg your pardon. I used to seeing her name more often.
Okay, through you, Councillor Anderson. Thank you. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to wait till Quinn started or if I was going to start. But now that we have that cleared up, bringing forward a report just about 3 things that I think would help modernize our fire service using the funding from, I think, 2018. We ended up with some funds to modernize or make more efficient various processes within the municipality. So in regard to the fire department, the proposed applications in the report, I think, will help us to do our jobs more effectively or more efficiently. So those three things are what we call a Synergy Units 911 response application. So what this does is it's an application that would be on a tablet in our trucks, and it would allow our responders to get all of the information that they need on the face of a tablet and be able to utilize the interface of the tablet to correspond back and forth with Guelph Dispatch. So this will make our lives a little bit easier, because if we have things like burn permits or pre-planned data or hazards that are identified already on the property, Guelph Dispatch and the responders will have that at the ready or at their fingertips. Currently, right now, that information is stored in binders, or it could be in our radio rooms, or it might not even be collected as of yet because we have nowhere to put it. But this application would allow all that information to be at our responders' fingertips. The other thing that it does is so when we complete responses, we have to communicate to Guelph Dispatch when we're on scene, what we're doing on scene. And this application will allow us, kind of builds in a redundancy to allow us to do that on the fly. So we can just hit buttons on our tablet to say on scene, off scene. There's been in the last few years, an increase in the information that we're required to collect, like how many tanker shuttles of water we completed per incident, stuff like that. So this tablet will build that process in to make sure that that information is collected. We'll be able to just add to our incident records, leaving scene, coming back to scene, going for water, all that kind of stuff that right now is supposed to be captured just basically via a pen, writing things down on paper. So this will sort of shore up that process and make it a little bit more automated. The second application that we would like to add to our service is called Check It Mobile. And it's an application that will automate our truck checks. So as you all know, we have to do maintenance quite regularly on our apparatus. And our maintenance records are very important in health and safety and freedom of information. Anybody can request information surrounding our maintenance records. But right now, our truck checks and our maintenance records don't really work back and forth. They don't correspond back and forth with each other. Our truck checks are done on paper, and our maintenance records are put into a software application, and they don't really talk to each other. So this system would allow us to create records and maintenance. So to create truck records and then create truck check records simultaneously and keep it all together in one file. It also will get rid of all of our paper, as the Check It software is tablet based. So all of the firefighters will just have to grab the tablet, log in on the tablet, complete the truck check, and then that will be automatically logged in our system. So it should cut down on quite a bit of time, both for the firefighter and for us who are having to log the data in the system after the check, if that makes sense. So the Check It Mobile application is something that will help kind of all around when it comes to records and effectiveness or efficiency of our checks. It also kind of puts in a redundancy for accountability to ensure that things are getting checked routinely. Right now, it's just kind of captains, myself, Chris will go around, Marco will go around and make sure that those checks are happening. But this will make sure that they are happening at a set time period, and it will remind the firefighter to do it, even if they haven't done it. And then there's also process redundancies built in to make sure that they actually did check the apparatus, opposed to just checking the box type thing, because we can only obviously go by the paper record. We're just assuming that things are getting checked, but this will prove that it is. So from a health and safety or just safety perspective, it will be very helpful. And the third proposed application system is a learning management system. And as you all know, the fire college has closed down. So we're no longer sending people out for training. So this system will allow people to train in-house at their convenience, which is something that we rely on for retaining our firefighters is making sure that they're able to train at their earliest or most convenient times. Because as you know, everyone's busy, and we don't want the volunteer fire service to kind of be a drain on people. So this system will allow flexibility in training, and it will also, it also has the required courses that people would need to train on that originally they would have taken on at the fire college or elsewhere. So we're just bringing that all in-house and giving it to them essentially at their fingertips to be able to train when they want, where they want. So those are essentially the applications that I'm proposing that we use the modernization grant funds for. As you can see in the report, I've kind of outlined most of the costing associated with those applications and the implementation targets for those 3 things. So that's pretty much the end of my report. And if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Any questions? Councillor Dirksen first, and then Councillor Elliott, and then Deputy Mayor Turton.
Okay, thank you, Chair Anderson. So Khalees, you said, I think you said that your checks of systems and of your equipment and so on, it's being done on paper now, and then it would be on tablet, and then we're sure it's being done. I can't understand, maybe I'm missing something, but I don't understand the difference, because if somebody wants to say it's being done and it's not, there's no difference between writing it on paper and writing it on a tablet. So I'm just trying to, maybe I missed something there though. Can you just fill that out a little bit more?
Okay, so an example of that would be through process. So on paper, if we say, did you clean out the fridge? And you write down saying that you did check it, then you could have checked it, you might not have. But if on the tablet we say, like you have to show us a picture of the fridge being cleaned out, then that will increase the accountability to make sure that those things were completed. Or did you check the gas gauge? Take a picture of the gas gauge so that it forces people to do those things.
Okay, sorry, I didn't, okay, I didn't get the whole the whole picture there. And the other thing was, so Wellington North, I'm assuming, has received funds as well for this modernization grant. And so they will be going the same route as what's proposed here for Minto then, I'm assuming?
Yep, and so their report goes next week to council. So if both reports are passed and we implement at the same time, then a lot of the implementation fees associated with will be cut in half. So it's a lot. So having both departments go in the same direction is going to save us some money at the same time, for sure. So.
Perfect. Or we can do more with the same. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Councillor Elliott?
Yes, Khalees, that was very interesting. What interests me is our in-house training, and I used to send them off to like a college to learn that. After they do their training, are our instructors going to be qualified that they can designate that these people had the proper training and basically passed what they were going to do, that they're qualified? How's that work?
Okay, so Chief Harrell might have to kind of interrupt here intermittently, but as far as I'm aware, so they can do the training on the platform, but then Wellington County has the registered training center or whatever, and we have qualified instructors around the county that can teach courses, and then the fire marshal's academic standards and evaluation unit comes in to do the testing so that it's standard across the province. So all of the training we can complete in-house, but then they'll still have to write the test by the ASNE or the provincial unit that comes in and does all the testing for all of the firefighters.
So you would have qualified trainers coming up to teach at the fire hall, for example, the different fire halls.
Yeah, so Wellington County already has qualified trainers for certain courses.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And Deputy Mayor Turton?
Thank you, Chair. In no way, the way we've done it in the past, our citizens of the town of Minto have never been jeopardized. I mean, we're changing to make things better. We're going to get a little bit of money here from the modernization grant that we're really, really on the leading edge with this with this whole management program. And I think it's great. I mean, everything that you've said, Khalees, it's real time. It's pretty amazing. The big thing here, one of the things that I'm not sure if you mentioned or not, and it's in your report, it's a great report, that the workload on our volunteers. And I mean, we still have a volunteer fire service. And a lot of those young men and women that are in our volunteer service are going above and beyond every day to do all this. Plus they've got families and they got everything else, and kudos to them. So every municipality in Wellington are going ahead with this, are they not? We're not the only ones? Did I not?
No, not every municipality is going forward with all these software. Some are at different points with it. Some are further behind. But some have taken little bits and pieces of it, like the Unis 911 they've used. Some have employed check-in. I think we'll be close to one of the first to take all three and put them in at the same time. But a lot of this, as Khalees mentioned, has to do with now that we're all with Guelph Dispatch, and our systems will talk with their systems. It's a huge advantage because we can exchange information back and forth, which is way a dispatch center and a fire department should work. So
yeah, I think it's pretty amazing. Certainly in favor of it.
Thank you. Mayor Bridge?
Yeah, just a follow-up comment. And I think this is great. And Chris, this we talked about before, and I see Marco on here when we talked about the working with Wellington North and having the two interactions. This is one of the savings you'll see. And we talked about it, and it was hard to really point out anything at the time. We said, well, there'll be savings as we go along. And I think Khalees mentioned that, like, if we both go at this at the same time, obviously we save some money, some soft costs right there. And that's major. And I really think that the training and the way we worked it with the Wellington County, with our training officers down there that Wellington puts some money into, and the fact that it's such a busy time for our young people now to go off to a college anymore. It's like, it'd be hard for them, I was assuming, Chris, and this is a lot better that they can actually be there and they can actually do it with where they can find the time, and you can work the schedule out. And again, the fact that we've got two detachments working together, so there's opportunities to, I'm sure, to cross train and have if somebody's coming up to do a lesson, you've got a whole bunch of people that could take those slots. So I think just it goes to show you how it's all kind of coming together like we had hoped. And I really think this is amazing, and I'm certainly for it.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, I do have a comment myself. I think that this program, allowing there to be communication between the dispatch unit plus the fire trucks, I think is invaluable. And the fact that they can get whatever information they need. Is it a chemical fire? Is it are there explosives? So that we can protect our volunteers. The job they do is unparalleled. Kudos to them. And as you guys know, unfortunately, we've had an opportunity to experience it firsthand a couple times now. And you just can't say enough, right, about what they do. And the more information they have going in, the better prepared they are for what they have to deal with. I think that alone, and the accountability, we're all being called to accountability for everything. So Khalees, as you say, everything has to be checked and balanced, and you have to be able to prove it to somebody. And Dave, I agree, there's been no risk at all. They do a phenomenal job. But when somebody asks for a report, now you can just print it off of the software and you've got it there, as long as the computer's working and the internet's up. I'm supposing we keep a couple pieces of paper around just in case, like the hospital, it comes to a grinding halt and everybody goes, where are those forms? How do we do that again? But I think this is a marvelous thing for us to do, and the partnership certainly will aid in the costs and being able to offer it and making the burden a little easier on our volunteers. After all, they are volunteers, and much appreciated. So is anybody opposed to this recommendation? Do I have to read out the recommendation, don't I? And I can't see it on the screen. Hold
Through
on.
you, Councillor Anderson, I can read it out for you if you
Perfect.
prefer.
Otherwise, I have to try and read it off my phone.
That's fine. Moved by Mayor Bridge and seconded by Councillor Elliott that the Council of Town of Minto receives a report titled Fire Services Modernization and authorizes the fire management team to utilize money from the provincial modernization grant to implement all identified projects contained within the report.
Perfect. Can I have a mover? Or do I
The
already
mover
have
was
that?
Mayor Bridge and the seconder was Councillor Elliott.
So I thought. Anybody opposed? Perfect. That's passed then. And I'll pass the chair back to Mayor Bridge.
Thanks, Councillor Anderson. And moving on, I will ask Belinda to give us an update on economic development grant. Go ahead, Belinda.
Yep, so this will be very brief. This is a signage grant. Typically, we take these to our Economic Development Committee, but this came in right between meetings and I didn't want to hold up the applicant. So this is for the People's Chiropody Clinic, which is Betty McTagg, our newest tenant at Launch at Minto. And essentially she is needing signage so people know that she is in Launch It. So this involves a hanging sign underneath the overhang at the front door, a window sign on the front door, and then an A-frame sign that would sit out on the new rock landscaping out front, obviously brought in when they're not in business. So yeah, the total cost of the signage is $743.81, and through the grant they would receive $371.91. The committee reviewed the report and was unanimous in approving that this come forward and be accepted by council.
Great.
Questions?
Questions for Belinda? Seeing none, I'll read the recommendation that the Council of Town of Minto receives the June 1st, 2021 report from the Business Economic Manager regarding signage improvement grant H28 for $371.91 for People's Chiropractic. Cryo, is it?
Chiropodist.
Oh, correct. You say clinic located on 1 Laura Street North, Unit 4, within the Launch at Minto space, and the Council of Town of Minto approves the grant. Anybody opposed? Carried. Thanks, Belinda.
Sorry, through you, Mayor Bridge. I just wanted to make it note that it was moved by Councillor Dirksen and seconded by Councillor Anderson.
Oh, did I miss that?
I might have missed that.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, gotcha. Okay, good, thank you. Okay, I'll turn it over to Ashley for her first report. Go ahead, Ashley.
Good afternoon, Mayor Bridge and members of council. So this first staff report is for part lot control for the Creekbank Meadows subdivision. It's part of phase 2 on Stevenson Way, and they're looking to now split these 4 semi-detached units into what will be 8 separate lots, so they can be sold with distinct and separate ownership. The lot sizes are proposed to be approximately 0.08 acres, which works out to about 0.03 hectares. So it will meet the frontage and area requirements of the R2 zone. Town staff have reviewed this application and no concerns were noted. So we are recommending that council receives this report and considers passing a bylaw in open session.
Any questions for Ashley? Kind of a housekeeping thing, Ashley, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
This many times, okay. I'll read the moved by Councillor Gudson, second by Deputy Mayor Turton. The Council of Town of Minto receives the planning technician's report regarding the part lot control exemption application for Right Haven Homes Limited for property legally described as part 1-8 of lots 19, 20, 21, and 22, registered plan 61M 237, the former town of Palmerston, with municipal address of 122, 120, 118, 116, 114, 112, 110, 108 Stevenson Way in the town of Minto, and considers passing the bylaw in open session. Anybody opposed? Carried. Okay, thank you. And this is the one you're going off there. Councillor Dirksen's going off right now. And go ahead, Ashley.
So this is for an encroachment agreement. So the property is owned by Dennis and Carol Harper, who are currently in the process of severing the property at 6465 6th line. So you may have recalled it's come through for a severance as well as a rezoning that was a condition of severance. So this encroachment agreement is also another condition of severance. So the reason that we discovered that there is an encroachment agreement required is that during the severance process, a survey was submitted to the town. So when the applicant is looking to sever off roughly 3 acres to keep their house and shop on, the remaining farmland has the trailer on it, as we have discussed previously, and it is encroaching onto town property. So this encroachment agreement is a legal and binding agreement between the town and the property owner whose mobile home encroaches onto, it's a road allowance, I should mention. So this agreement outlines many conditions, such as if the town puts in a road in the future, then it must keep a reasonable distance from the encroachment. Unless the town cannot construct the road, then it would be removed either all of it or some of it. We still have that authority as the town. The owner must provide to the town in writing any change of ownership, and it outlines things like town liability. We're not liable for damages, loss, injury, accidents, and that sort of thing on any part of the encroached portion of their property. So we are looking for council to pass a bylaw authorizing the mayor and the clerk to be able to sign this agreement with the landowners.
Okay, questions for Ashley on this one? Kind of gone over this a while. Councillor Anderson. You're on
Sorry,
mute
just to
there.
refresh, yep, just to refresh my memory. Does somebody live in the trailer?
Yes, yeah. And then with the rezoning, it's permitted to stay until it's not habitable. From my understanding, it's been there quite some time and it is in good repair. So this is just to make sure that all of our bases are covered from the town's perspective.
So if it's an encroachment and you needed to build a road there,
Mhm.
you're saying in one phrase that we're not going to encroach on the building, but at the other, we could move the building?
If
I
it's
was sort of
reasonable,
confused.
if we can keep a reasonable distance, then that's the recommended
Well-
course. But if not, then we have the authority to either remove all or some of the encroached trailer.
Okay, so, and then they can't sell this trailer as it stands, correct?
They
Or
can
they could
sell
as
the
long-
land that it's on, but it belongs on the farmland that can't be severed off any farther
Okay.
because there's that secondary dwelling unit. So if they do sell it, they have to provide us any change, notify us of any change in ownership in writing. So
Okay, all right, thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay, any other questions? Then I'll state, moved by Councillor McKenzie, second by Councillor Elliott, the council of the town of Minto receives planning technician's report regarding the encroachment agreement for property legally described as lot 11, concession 6 municipality known as 6465 6th line in town of Minto for information. And further, the council considers passing a bylaw in regular session, authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the encroachment agreement. Anybody opposed? Carried. Okay, moving on to Annalene, and guess what? The election is coming.
I
sometime.
know I know it's
Couple
not till
of years.
2022, but
Well, a year
it's going to
and
be
a
here
half,
before you
I
know it.
guess. Yeah, a year and a half. Yep.
That's right. So normally, like in 2018, we would have already passed a bylaw at this time for voting by mail, etc. But because of Bill 218, they've adjusted the date. You don't actually have to pass these bylaws until May of the year of the election. I think it's better to be on this a little sooner than that, though. So what I'm bringing forward to you is to look at doing vote by mail, which has done quite well for Minto, I believe. In 2018, we had a voter turnout of 52.2%. The provincial average was 38.29%. So we seem to do quite well with that. The thing that's new this time, though, is looking at using tabulators. I spoke to all the clerks in Wellington County, and all of them except ourselves and Central Wellington, who did internet voting, used tabulators in their 2018 election. All the clerks have reported that they worked well for them. The financial considerations is an additional $10,000 shortfall to the reserve that would have to be added to the 2022 operating budget. I think COVID-19 kind of gave us an outlook on what all of a sudden can happen. And, I am thinking that we'll be really good by September of next year or October of next year. But, you don't want to take any chances. And we just feel that we should move on to tabulators. Do you have any questions?
Questions for Annalene on this? Okay, not hearing. Oh, go ahead, Councillor Darcy.
So I'm curious, whenever we talked about this in 2017 for 2018, we cited reasons like it's less expensive to use live bodies to do the counting. And we also chatted about how it gives the public a way to be involved in the process. And I guess to me, those things probably haven't changed. What's changed is this global pandemic. I'm curious, what would have happened if 2020 was an election year? And we already had it set that we were going to use live bodies to do our counting.
So that's very
And-
interesting that you would ask that, Councillor Dirksen. I think what would have happened is we would have had to use very few staff, being very far away from each other, and be counting all night.
Yeah.
Because there would be no way that you could have the 50 people in a room.
And to be honest with you, Councillor Dixon, it would be really tough. And I know from experience from talking to some of my colleagues at FCM that had to do some elections during COVID, and a lot of them were postponed, but they finally had to do them. So it wasn't easy. There was a lot of confusion, and it became really difficult. So anyways, Derek, you had your hand up?
Yeah, no, sorry, Mr. Mayor. I was just going to agree. It would have been very, very difficult to try to make that happen. I'm very hopeful that we won't have to do that, and that by September of a year from now, then we'll be in much better shape.
Yeah, a good example is New Brunswick right now. One of the problems they have with FCM is their elections got postponed, so they're right into this. They couldn't send anybody they couldn't actually approve anybody for FCM because they're not sure if the person is going to make it or not, because the election's after the FCM thing now. So it's really difficult. And there were some provinces, as you know, Newfoundland, it took them almost a whole month to do their provincial election. Pretty scary. I had somebody I knew running there, and I think she felt that she didn't get in because it took a month for people to actually get out and get their votes in, and then there was a lot of confusion. So yeah, thank goodness. I hope Annalene, we don't have to go through that for you.
I certainly hope not. That's right.
Yeah. Ron, go ahead.
Yeah. Annalene, errors on the tabulating machine, is there very few errors, or what's the thought on that? And while we're talking about that too, if there happened to be somebody challenged the election and would like a recount, is that difficult to do, or would you have to hand count it after that fact? How would that work?
So through you, Councillor Elliott, what would happen is if you're looking at errors, I mean, again, the systems are going to be tested and tested many times over. I'm thinking that you could probably end up with more errors with 50 people than with 2 tabulators being run. And if there was to be a recount, again, they are done still and kept in paper format. So if there had to be a recount by paper, we could do that if that was through a judge. Yep.
Yep. This could be Georgia all over again, Ron. Councillor Dirksen.
So is there any advantage for time? Like, can you start sending these ballots in as you receive them, and then can you have them at can you actually have the answer at 8:05, or is that
so? Councillor Dirksen, what will happen is we do have to come up with our procedures yet. We'll look at that. I know many other municipalities, what they would do is they would start at 2 p.m. opening and entering into the data. And then, of course, you finish off shortly after 8 o'clock with your last ones that come in. And yes, we should have our information shortly after 8 o'clock. Again, we were probably the holdup at the last election because we were doing the hand count. And again, it's not just for our election, it's for the school boards, and it's also, for the county. So this will put us on with the rest of the Wellington County.
Yeah. And one advantage we had too, some of the, I think Wellington North's done it for 2 elections now. Their first election, I think, Councillor Dirksen, they had a little bit of a problem with tabulation, but they've got a lot better since. So now I look down, I see that other than Center Wellington, who doesn't need a tabulator because they're doing it on internet, which I don't really like, but anyways, but we're the only ones left. So I was reluctant too, when Clerk Annalene came to me and I said, oh, I like the people thing, but she convinced me that we have to move on. So I'm with you a little bit. It's going to be nostalgic that we're not going to have the people down there counting the ballots, but we will. Yeah, who knows, if it's close, you might have to have a hand count, just like Georgia. Anyways, any other questions? Do I have to read this whole thing, Annalene?
Would you like me to read it out for you?
Sure, why don't you read it out? And moved by Councillor Dirksen, second by Councillor McKenzie, and then go ahead, you read it.
That Council of the Town of Minto receives the clerk report alternate voting methods for the 2022 municipal election. And further, that the council authorizes a vote by mail method for casting ballots in the 2022 municipal election. And further, that council authorizes the use of tabulators for counting ballots in the 2022 municipal election. And further, that the mayor and clerk could be authorized to sign the bylaw to authorize a vote by mail method of casting ballots in the 2022 municipal election. Further, that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the bylaw to authorize the use of tabulators for counting ballots in the 2022 municipal election. And further, that the clerk shall prepare procedures and rules for the vote by mail method of casting ballots in the 2022 municipal election and provide these procedures and rules to the public by posting them on the municipal website.
Anybody opposed? Carried. Okay, thank you, Melanie. Other businesses disclosed. Deputy Mayor Turton.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, you're right. I'm just going to give you a quick update on the pumpkin plants.
I'm just kidding you. I thought you might.
Yeah, so I mean, we've had some issues. As you seen Judy's email a week and a half ago over the long weekend, we did have some beetles out there, and so as of today, the good news is there's no signs of any beetles, and there appears to be new growth coming along on most of them. As bad luck would have it, it's yours, and this is from Paul Judge. It's mine and Judy's that look the least likely to recover.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Oh dear. So Paul has planted a few more.
Okay.
And so he's planted some inside, and they're growing. So he figures that he'll get us back into the race.
Okay.
It's early. So
it's early. But they didn't get frost either. Judy, go ahead.
So I'm not ready to give up on mine yet.
No.
The good thing is when there's no leaves, the frost is a lot easier on it.
Exactly. I was going to say you couldn't frost.
You guys have leaves. Guess what? They kind of got tinged with the frost, but mine didn't seem to be bothered by the frost at all. It had no leaves. But I was there Sunday afternoon, and there's definitely some new growth maybe coming there. So I'm not giving up just quite yet, but
well,
I think it's time to get out the special potion.
Yeah, I'm going to use a different tactic. I'm going to ignore mine because usually I kill anything I try to help. So I'll ignore it and maybe it'll come back. I'm just hoping. Anyways, it's all good.
Mayor Bridge, yours is the furthest south.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure if you've been out there, but yours is definitely the furthest south and likely the healthiest.
Oh, good. Well, there you go. There you go. Okay, that sounds great. I just have, anybody else got anything? I just going to give you a quick update on our vaccine situation and where we're going. We're pleased we got a bit more of supply for this week again. So we're hoping to push the envelope a little bit more. We had almost 17,000 vaccinations last week. We're at 63.7 as of today. We're a little behind. If you hear Toronto and stuff, just remember that they, for a couple of weeks, got double the vaccines in the hotspots there to try to clean up their concerns that they had. And so you see Toronto is like done over 2.1 million or whatever. So and York's at 70%. So the reason they're ahead of us isn't because we haven't worked hard at getting them into people's arms. We just haven't had the vaccines to get there. So as we move forward, I'm pretty positive that by the end of this week, we'll be closing in on that close to 70. And I think we can get those things going. One of the things that Dr. Mercer did say in her call on Monday is I think she has enough appointments now to get us to 75%, except she's short about 6,000 or 7,000. So if you know of anybody that's in any of the groups that haven't got their vaccines yet, or just haven't got around to them or whatever, just give them a little gentle push and tell them get going. As soon as we get enough people getting them, we can get this thing open and get back to some near normal. So we're doing really well that way. Our rates have come down as Minto hasn't had any cases for the last few days again. I've won it for a while. We're doing well in our area. But as you know, things can crop up. So I'm hopeful that we're past the point of going back into any kind of new wave or anything. But yeah, we have to keep our eye on the ball and let's keep moving it to the goalposts. So anyways, that's what I have there. Councillor Elliott and then Councillor Anderson, go ahead.
I've had, Elaine and I have had our first vaccinations and vaccinations. And but I'm wondering, they're saying on June 14th that some of us can start moving towards getting our second vaccination, but they didn't give us a date for our second one. So they just said it was going to be in July sometime.
Yeah.
So they're
Okay.
suggesting that we can move that up. Do we call, or do we go in an email, or we wait until somebody contacts us? What?
Well, thanks for that question, Councilor Elliott, and I should have brought that forward too. That was one of the things that we talked about on Monday. When the province says that everybody's over 80 now can get their second vaccines and move forward, they were a little bit, it made a little bit of a, I don't know, I would just say confusion out there, because that's if you're in a Toronto area where you're at 70-75% in some cases, where we are still trying to get those first doses out because we didn't have as many vaccines. So we're even better off than some of those people north of us, like Grey Bruce, where they're still about 50%. So we have to get more of those first doses out. So we may not, you had 16 weeks, you'll get a call from them. If you were in one of the clinics, you'll get a call from the clinic saying, you're up for grabs, and here's your possible time. So a lot of people towards the last ones, they actually got their second appointments, but they were out 16 weeks. Now they're trying to hopefully move that in closer. Like I'm hoping 2 or 3 weeks earlier than what you anticipate, but I can't give you a date. But just be ready for the call, and you'll get a call saying, yeah, you're being moved up. They'll get the 80-year-olds done first, then the 70-year-olds, and then down to 60. They're doing it that way. So, and then anybody that's done the pharmacies with Astra, I can believe, Jean, you might be able to help me with this, but I think we just heard today that you could probably get a Pfizer or Moderna for your second dose now. But I think
the latest report I saw was that they're now saying you can take any of the vaccines as a second dose, no matter what you had for the first dose.
Right.
And I don't think that applies to all ages, though. There's a certain group in there that they're allowing to do that. My question was, and I've heard this from other people, and as I commented when all of this started with the vaccines, the 80-year-olds haven't all got their vaccines, not necessarily in our area. Do you know how we're doing with that? But
yeah,
I was listening to comments in Toronto and places, and the people who are isolated, they just don't have any way to get there, and they can't get through the phone lines, and mobility is an issue. And I know our paramedics have been great at going out to some people. I just wondered if you knew where we're at with that.
Yeah, 97% of the 80-year-olds have got ours, and 95% of the next group down, 75 to 80. And in our group, my group, sorry, you're putting everybody at 70, you guys are at 70. But my group is over 90. So yeah, I would have to say that our ages of 80 and over, like if there's probably 3% that don't want it or won't take it.
Right.
So I think we're good, but you're right, Jean, there were some areas. So if you go on the dashboard, actually the way they have it laid out, they have nice bar graphs all the way down. So we actually have right down to age 50, I think is in the 70s already. So that's good news. And as you see those charts go up, I kind of watch that because I want to get as many of those bar charts up to 75 as quick as possible as we get more people out there. So I think the uptake is pretty good. We seem to be getting pretty good there, but yeah.
I would also like to just comment, it's just as a caution for people, the spreading of this thing is fascinating, and I don't think we've got the science yet.
No.
I was working in Fergus on the weekend, and we had the one person from Arthur Crescent Care that didn't have COVID. It went through that entire nursing home, and that's not what she was there with, but one person out of the entire nursing home didn't get COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard of a nursing home where everybody has been vaccinated, and yet they have 5 residents with COVID.
And it can happen. It can happen.
So just a reminder, don't let everybody's waiting. We're all going to get vaccinated. We're all going to get vaccinated. We're going to do it. And I mean, people are not being great about adhering to the rules.
Yeah.
There were lots of gatherings. They weren't any 5 or 10 people. They were large gatherings that you see over the weekend. This is not something to fool around with, but I mean, we've been preaching that for a long time.
Yeah.
People just need to be careful.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Councillor Elliott.
Just to reassure what I'm thinking here, no matter when, if you had your first vaccine, even if you've given a second date, we have to be patient and wait for us to call them. We shouldn't be calling in.
That's right.
Correct, because they're deluged and they
I,
can't.
I would, I would assume we didn't know, we thought maybe we better call in because we never got a date. So.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to get out there, Ron, because right after they made that announcement for 80-year-olds, all 80-year-olds said, they phoned and said, well, when am I in? Like, I'm
Yeah.
booking next appointment. Well, they're getting to you as soon as they can. Again, it's not even across Ontario. That's the problem. And so they'll
I
get
would
there.
just,
Come September, I should call.
Well,
No,
you'll have it. If you were told 16 weeks, whatever your 16 weeks is, they'll make sure you get in that 16-week window.
Okay,
I was told that you'll get in there.
perfect.
I can't give enough kudos to public health. This has been a massive, massive undertaking. And the group here, like our dialysis people, they're identified as high risk. Those of them, they came to our unit, we gave the first shots, they came and gave the second shots. The people who'd had a previous dose, not the Moderna, they had to go back to their original source if they wanted the same vaccine. But public health followed up with them. They contacted those providers. They put these people on a rush list and they got them in there well before their 16-week window. And they did all the contacting, Ron. So I know people are anxious. They cannot man the phones. They can't keep up with the number
You'll
of
get
calls.
it. You'll get it.
Yeah,
get
they've
your
done a
call.
great job of tracking people and getting it done. And I think Wellington County has done a phenomenal job.
Yeah, I agree with that, Jean. And I have to say, our own Derek was out in one of our clinics working the back tables. So we sent some of our people to one of the Palmerston clinics just a little while ago. And we'll keep, as we get more vaccines, we'll keep pushing those clinics so people can get to them, right? So anyways, we'll keep the updates going. All right, thank you. All right. Moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Gutson. The Committee of the Whole convenes the Committee of Adjustment.
So through you, Mayor Bridge, at this time, we'll take a break because the public meeting starts at 5 p.m.
Yeah,
So if everyone could.
that's right.
Yep.
Recording and being recorded. Okay. Moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Gutson. The Committee of the Whole convenes in the Committee of Adjustments. All in favor? Or all in favor? We'll go all in favor now. Okay. Okay. Passed. Okay. Public meeting, 5 o'clock. I'll call this public hearing to order and state any decision reached by this committee today cannot be used to set a precedent. Each application considered by the committee is dealt with on its own merits, and no two applications are exactly the same. I will state the public hearings to consider minor variance application MV 2020-109 for Broderick LeMay. I'll call on the Secretary Treasurer McRobb to state the following information. Go ahead, Annalene.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. The property subject to the proposed minor variance application is legally described as Part Lot 37 Southside Thomas Street, Registered Plan 61R7612 Part 1, in the former town of Harriston, with a frontage onto Thomas Street in the town of Minto. The subject property is plus or minus 0.11 acres or plus or minus 0.05 hectares in size. The purpose and effect of the application is to permit the construction of a single detached dwelling with a reduced yard setback. The applicant is seeking relief from section 11.2.6 of the town of Minto's comprehensive zoning bylaw 0186 as amended. Section 11.2.6 states that the minimum rear yard setback is 7.6 meters or 24.9 feet, whereas the applicant is proposing to reduce the setback to 4.33 meters or 14.2 feet. Additional relief may be considered at this meeting. The notices were mailed to the property owners within 200 feet or 60 meters of the subject property, as well as the applicable agencies, and posted May 19, 2021 on the subject property. Comments have been received from the town of Minto staff, the Wellington County Planning staff, as well as Maitland Valley Conservation Authority. We did have owner Brody LeMay registered to speak. At this time, I do not see him on.
Okay, thank you, Annalene. And I'll ask Ashley to do the, I guess you're doing both, Ashley, I would imagine. I don't see. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
So this minor variance is for a lot on Thomas Street. So initially it was part of 32 Union Street West. They had quite a big backyard. And then in 1997, they actually severed that off, and it was approved by both the county and the town at that time with a proposed residential use. So this minor variance is for the now proposed 2-story single-family home with a ground floor area of approximately 1,240 square feet. The subject property is zoned residential, which would permit for the construction of this house. The applicant is just looking for minor relief to make it a feasible build. So the applicant is seeking relief from the rear yard setback from the minimum of 24.9 feet down to 14.2 feet. So this works out to a difference of roughly 10 feet. The application was circulated to all of the required agencies, and we did receive some comments. So Wellington Source Water Protection noted they had no concerns. Wellington County's Planning Department also had no concerns as it pertains to matters of county interest. Maitland Valley Conservation Authority did note that the property is in a flood fringe zone, and as such, it will require appropriate floodproofing measures when built. They currently do not object to the application as it is in general conformance with the provincial policy statement. And they will also have to sign off on the building plans prior to our building permit being issued, which is standard practice for properties in floodproofing areas. And this is a similar case to what you would have seen for Bob Harris's semi-detached development that's on King Street there as well. So Town of Minto staff support the application as it maintains the general intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw. The developer will be required to provide enough space in the driveway to park a car. So our minimum length requirement is 19.6, which with just doing the rear yard setback, they would be able to provide that space and ensure that the vehicles do not overhang onto town property. The developer is also required to provide a grading and drainage plan to the satisfaction of the town prior to a building permit being issued. And they are aware that that is a requirement as well. So we did receive an inquiry, but no formal comment from a neighboring landowner who had concerns about potential grading and drainage issues. I spoke to him and walked him through the process a little bit, and he seemed to be satisfied with that as well. The applicant is aware that they'll have to provide that grading and drainage plan to the town and to our satisfaction, and we're not expecting that the neighboring landowners will have any negative impacts at all. And it looks like Brody's in the waiting room now, actually.
Okay. All right.
So through you, Mayor Bridge, we'll just wait till he's promoted
Can
to
you
his
get
panelist.
Brody on there? Okay.
Yep, Gwen will upload him. Just give it a minute.
There you go. I think he's on. There he is. Hi, Brody. You're on mute.
There we go.
There you are. There he is. Okay. Good. Well, we just finished Ashley's comments, Brody, and there doesn't seem to be too much there. So did you have anything you want to say before I ask questions to the council?
No, I just caught the end of what she was saying there. So I mean, it all sounded right to me.
Okay, great. Okay, I'll ask the council if they have any questions for Ashley or Brody. Not seeing any, it's pretty straightforward. Okay. Thank you. I'll call on the, Secretary Treasurer McRobb provided the resolutions. I think it's probably Annaline go for the positive one here.
Okay, sure. So just upon a resolution being carried or defeated, the notice of decision of the Committee of Adjustment is to be signed by all members of the Committee of Adjustment in favor of the decision. So what I'm bringing forward to you is that the Town of Minto Committee of Adjustment approves the application by Broderick LeMay for property legally described as part lot 37 Southside Thomas Street, Register Plan 61R7612, Part 1 in the former town of Harrison, with frontage onto Thomas Street in the town of Minto, to provide relief from section 11.2.6 of the town of Minto's comprehensive zoning bylaw 06-86 as amended. The relief granted from section 11.2.6 is to reduce the rear yard setback to a minimum of 4.33 meters or 14.2 feet. We just need a mover and a seconder.
Can I have a mover and a seconder, Deputy Mayor Turton and Councillor Gunson, and anybody opposed? Carried. Okay. I'll state the following. Anyone wishing to receive a copy of the notice of decision of the Committee of Adjustment in respect to the minor variance application must make a written request to the clerk of the town of Minto at 5941 Highway 89, Harrison, OG 170, or email at admin@town.minto.on.ca. Officially adjourn this meeting. Adjourned. Thanks, Brody, and there you go.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Hope your building goes well.
Yes. Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Yes, you as well.
Okay, moved by Councillor Elliott, by Councillor Anderson, that the Town of Minto Committee of Adjustment convenes into regular council meeting. Anybody opposed? Seeing none, okay. Moved by Deputy Mayor Turton, second by Councillor McKenzie. The Council of the Town of Minto ratifies the motions made in the Committee of the Whole. Anybody opposed? Carried. Moved by Councillor Gunson, second by Councillor Elliott, that the bylaw number 2021-46 to exempt part lot control for lands being parts 1018 of lots 19, 20, 21, and 22 in the former town of Palmerston, town of Minto, as amended, read first, second, and third time, passed by council, seal the corporation. Anybody opposed? Carried. And this one here, yeah, I see you. Okay, Councillor Dirkson's off. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, second by Councillor Gunson, the bylaw number 2021-47 to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute an encroachment agreement between the Corporation of Town of Minto and Dennis Harold Harper and Carol Ann Harper, 6465 6th line, be read first, second, and third time, passed open council, sealed to the corporation. Anybody opposed? Carried. Moved by Councillor Dirksen, second by Deputy, as Councillor Dirksen back on. I think she is. There she is. Oh, there she is. Okay, good. Because you're moving this next one. I just want to make sure you're there. Moved by Councillor Dirksen, second by Deputy Mayor Turton, to the bylaw number 2021-48 to authorize a vote by mail method in the 2022 municipal election be read first, second, and third time, passed open council, sealed the corporation. Anybody opposed? Carried. Moved by Councillor Anderson, second by Councillor Dirksen, that the bylaw 2021-49 to authorize use of optical scanning tabulators in the 2022 municipal election be read first, second, and third time, and passed an open council, seal the corporation. Anybody opposed? Carried. Okay. Moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Councillor McKenzie, that the bylaw number 2021-50 to confirm actions of the council of the Corporation of Town of Minto respecting a meeting held June 1st, 2021 be read first, second, and third time, passed open council, seal the corporation. Anybody opposed? Carried. Moved by Deputy Mayor Turton, second by Councillor Gunson. The Council of the Town of Minto adjourns to meet again at the call of the mayor. Thanks everybody for a good meeting. Lots of things happening.
Everybody.
Take care.
Good night, everybody.